Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Pricila. I'm the emotional wellness coach here at HRC Fertility. Today we have an amazing interview with Tanny and John Leeper from Jake's Journey. One of our goals here at HRC Fertility is to be able to provide you with tools necessary to navigate infertility, fertility treatments, pregnancy, and loss. So this is how we're going to do this, by being able to provide you with as much resources as we can.
So my name is Tanny, this is my husband John. We are the authors of Dear Baby and founders of Jake's Journey Foundation. In January of 2013, we lost our son Jake at 24 weeks gestation. And so we were faced with, instead of planning his nursery, to planning his cremation services. So I think, to put it mildly, I was angry.
And now we're shopping for an urn, and we're figuring out,
paying for memorial service instead of, picking out a stroller or buying little gadgets for the baby. That's, the cute stuff that we want to spend our money on.
Yeah.
And not once did we expect that we're going to be spending money on
funeral costs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And then, so shortly after all that, we started paying all the bills and doing, the process of, making the cremation services arrangements. And then I said to myself, I don't want another mom either to go through what I went through. It took 7 years.
7 years to get Jake's Journey on the road.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
it's just something that you don't know. How do you start it? I don't know how,
Yeah, I don't know how to start a company or an organization.
Right.
Yeah. So it sounds like you wanted to help other people kind of go through, I guess, loss, but in a very productive or meaningful way. And so this is how Jake's Journey came to be.
I shared the same fear that all bereaved mothers share, will my child be forgotten? When you're going through that loss and everybody's coming to your home for the funeral services or memorial service, you're like, okay, everybody's here, everybody's supporting me. But what's going to happen next month, or 6 months down the road, or 7 years down the road?
Tell us a little bit about Jake's Journey. What kind of services can somebody expect to find participating in your organization?
So we offer financial assistance for parents to help them with burial services or cremation services. We also provide support groups. We actually have 3 support groups now under our organization. We have a 6-week support group that that John and I personally lead, and that's for parents impacted by pregnancy and infant loss. We encourage both moms and dads to attend that group. And then we also have Loving Arms Beyond, which is a monthly support group, an extension of our 6-week support group that meets once a month. It's a virtual meet. And then we have In Loving Arms Rainbow, which is a pregnancy and parenting loss support group that also meets virtually.
Nice. And so all of your social support groups are free?
Absolutely. And we're open to the community. Attending a support group 8 years ago was really a turning point for us, and it really changed how we grieve in our marriage and also our faith.
Got it. So you participated together in a support group after you lost Jake, and this is kind of what you saw an opportunity to be able to do something similar and give back in similar ways.
And the other thing I want to add is that we are doing virtual groups now, and so it's opened it up to basically across the country.
Absolutely.
We've had people on the East Coast attending, 3-hour time difference. They're staying up till midnight to be in the group, but they just find the healing and the peace, and they make time for it.
That sounds awesome. I heard you mention that as a man, you weren't really wanting to pursue a group where you would be able to share your feelings, and I can imagine that's uncomfortable. What would you like to share to men who are considering a group but are kind of nervous about that or not ready to sit with those feelings?
We do have a lot of men that come in just to support their wives. So we tell them, come and just sit there. You don't have to say a word.
Yes.
But what we find is that through the group, the first week they probably won't say much. The second week they're going to start to say a little more. By the time like the 5th and 6th week, oh my goodness, you can't shut them up. They love to have a safe place.
Yes.
And sometimes it's, we've incorporated now to where one of the weeks we separate. And so the men go to their room and the women go to their room, and we're able to just talk about things that maybe we don't want to share in front of our spouse.
Yeah.
Or, my wife does this, or this is a trigger for her. So we really get to bond as men. And you'd be amazed at just how we're all going through the same thing.
Yep.
Like our stories could be different gestational periods, whatever the case may be. But grief is grief, and when you lose a child, like, it doesn't matter.
And I'm glad you say that, because I feel like the men aren't really looked at when somebody's going through infertility or loss. Like, we look at the woman going through it, and a lot of times it's like, well, my wife went through it. She's the one that carried the baby, and she's the one that's really going through the loss. But I feel like we minimize the guys' experiences by not reminding them, that they also are allowed to feel and share their experiences. So I'm glad that you guys encourage men to come to your group to just process. So tell us what a typical group would look like for somebody who's experienced a loss. So specifically speaking to like your pregnancy loss group.
Yeah, so we try to keep the groups intimate. And like as we mentioned before, we really encourage the dads to come to the group as well. And that's why we have started leading it as a couple, just to kind of welcome the men to come. We go over like several different topics, so each week builds upon the next. And at the end of our 6 week together, we have come from a place of just first week just really broken and just having even difficult words to express our loss. And by the 6th week, we're not quite like say we're over this whole thing, but we're able to experience some sort of a joy and celebration.
What type of topics could somebody expect to hear or to participate in?
Yeah, one of the things, the new topic we've introduced is called relationships after loss. And it's just not just relationships with your family and your friends, but definitely relationships like as partners. And that's why when John said, we separate our groups, we talk about intimacy after loss, because that definitely changes from enjoying each other to like, now we have a mission to try this again.
Yeah.
Right? We also talk about how to honor your baby, that it's okay to celebrate your baby. It's okay to incorporate your baby in your family.
I mean, we talk about guilt and shame and blame. We talk about, our story. That we find that a lot of people, they've never confessed, and I say that word loosely, like they've never confessed or said out loud in a group that their baby has passed away. And almost the words can't come out sometimes. And so we want to take them from that to being able to, when somebody asks you, how many children do you have? We want to prepare you for that, because those questions will come up in the grocery store or whatever. We just, through the years, we've been able to gain a lot of nuggets from people. And so we try and incorporate as much of this as we can into 6 weeks to just allow people to understand that these things are going to be coming up. These are, well-meaning people say things that don't sit well with you. Oh, it's okay, you can try again, those kind of things.
Yeah, we give them like skills to be able to handle that, or like how do you behave when someone invites you for the first time to a baby shower, but you don't really want to go, but you feel obligated to go. How do we address that? I think at the end of our 6 weeks, we want to leave them with the thought of, okay, this didn't happen just for no reason at all. So let's go find what the purpose of this, and how can you change the script, change the narrative of your story.
Right. I think that's so important. I feel like a bulk of my sessions are really around, should I celebrate my baby, even if the baby was 5 weeks or 20 weeks? Can I and do I deserve to honor the baby regardless of whatever your story was? And I think a lot of people really don't like to go there. They're like, no, I don't want to do that because it just makes it so real and I'm not ready.
Yes. So one of the things that you touched on is celebrating. So October is known as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. So it's actually celebrated internationally. So one of the things that our foundation does is to be able to put together an event on October 15th, and the community is invited. You know, if you've been touched or impacted by pregnancy, infant loss, we welcome you to come. And that's really a night that it's almost kind of like a roll call for all our angel babies, and we celebrate them.
It's beautiful.
It is.
I'm excited to share that, and hopefully, you know, people can join and find some healing in that process.
One of the topics that we cover in the support group is writing a letter to our baby.
Yes.
And so often we talk about our pregnancy loss, but we don't talk to our baby.
That's right.
And when you talk about it makes it real, like that really makes it real.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see the letters, because we do invite people in the class to read their letters to the class. And it's really interesting because it doesn't matter if it was a full-term stillborn or early miscarriage. You couldn't tell by reading the letter. The love is the same,
Right.
the emotions are the same, the loss is all the same. And
The grieving process
right,
is the
it's
same.
all identical. And so it just goes to show you that there's no one life was more important because it was older or younger or anything like that. The love that a parent has starts early.
I think what I want to say is one of the topics that we do is men and women grieve differently. And that's one of the topics that we address.
Yeah, and I think that's important because a lot of times, like, people or couples, right, they're not aware of how each other processes or copes with the loss. And sometimes they can even have resentment towards each other.
Yes.
Like, you know, you didn't cry when we were told that we were miscarrying, or, you know, you just kept working and, you know, it didn't look like it affected you, but it looks different, right? And neither of them is wrong or right. So when somebody signs up to Jake's Journey and wants to participate, who reaches out, or do they just get put on a list, and how does the enrollment process look like?
On the website, they can register for any of the groups that we have. And once they register, I normally do an intake call to kind of get to know who they are and answer any questions that they have. It's very important that the relationship starts from the very beginning. You know, we're dealing with something that is so sensitive, and not very many people want to share about it because they feel broken and vulnerable. And a lot of times they will email me and they'll tell me they went through a loss and say, great, let's go set up a time to chat.
It's wonderful. I think that definitely kind of establishes that rapport, that relationship from the beginning. So people start to feel safer really early on.
Yeah. Great.
Plus it gives them another level of support till the support group starts. You know, it's not like sign up and then, okay, we'll see you in 4 weeks. Let's get going on how can we help you. You know, that's truly what we want to do is help them along their grief journey.
Awesome. And then you mentioned the event that you're having in October.
Yes.
People can register through your website as well?
Yes, the registration is not open yet. Okay. So we're actually going to be announcing the registration date via email. So if they are signed up through our mailing list, they'll be one of the first ones to know and gets to register, because we also have limited seating every year. You know, one day we won't have limited seating anymore.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me here at HRC Fertility. We're excited to provide these resources to our patients. And, you know, fertility treatment is financially stressful. And so when there's like free services that our patients can utilize, I'm always like happy to get them on board and to just share about your journey and your experience and what you guys can offer the community. So I really do appreciate you coming and sharing about Jake's Journey.